All right, welcome back to Sermon Study, and we're starting on a new book, Habakkuk, chapter 1. Habakkuk chapter 1. There's only 3 chapters in Habakkuk. And just as an introduction, by the way, please, if you're watching on YouTube or some other format, please go to sermonstudy.com and have sermons there that are free, other resources that are free. Then there's a subscription part where you can get these studies, these verse-by-verse studies. You can get them in a PDF form. In other words, you get the same notes that I have. Just show you, if you can see that, these same notes. And you can use those at your church in a class, Sunday school class, or Wednesday night teaching, Sunday night teaching, or Sunday morning, if you're a pastor or whatever. And just verse by verse, just dividing the word rightly. And so I hope you take advantage of that and use it. It's only $15 for the month. And you can get these ongoing, and I just keep putting them out there. And we do have some subscribers, and we appreciate that, appreciate you. All right, Habakkuk chapter 1. Let me say about this book, first of all, it is said that the author of the book, of course, is the prophet Habakkuk. And the author is believed to have written this book around 605 BC, which is about the time when the Babylonians took control and came into power. And there's very little information about him, Habakkuk himself, apart from the fact that he wrote this book. But the main theme of this book is the question of providentiality, or also referred to as the mystery of providence. The mystery of providence. And Habakkuk, author of this book, he was very concerned about the wickedness of the world. And as we should be, we need to be concerned about the wickedness of the world that we're living in now. And I think that's why this book was written, so we would grasp that and understand, hey, we need to be concerned about the world we live in. He was concerned about the sins of the world, not being punished, and what that would mean later on for the world and for people. And so this book of Habakkuk was very well preserved in the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's history right there. And in the letter from Paul to Ephesians, Paul referred to this book of Habakkuk. And verse 4 of chapter 2 of Paul's writings, in Ephesians, I should say, Ephesians 2 and 4. Here's how Paul said it. Now this is in Romans 1 and 17. He said, "For therein is the righteousness of God revealed from faith to faith. As it is written, the just shall live by faith." So he's referring to Habakkuk there. Now, we're going to begin this verse-by-verse study. And first of all is Habakkuk 1, chapter 1 and verse 1. One simple sentence, all it is, but there's a lot in this little simple sentence. It says, "The burden which Habakkuk the prophet did see." The burden which Habakkuk the prophet did see. Habakkuk's portrayal of his burden shows that there is a deep, deep, deep concern for the current circumstances as he's living in. It says there, the burden which Habakkuk the prophet did see. Those two little words, did see. That implies he received a vision from the Lord. He saw something from God. God showed him something. Oh, we need to be looking through spiritual eyes at this world. What do you see when you look at the world? Is it just happy-go-lucky and everybody just do whatever they want and what's right in their own eyes? Or do you see sinful things? Do you see things that God sees? Do you see the world as God sees it? Habakkuk saw the things the way the Lord saw it. And he recognized that there is a pressing need, and he carried this significant burden. He was burdened for this world. Do we have a burden for those that are lost? Do we have a burden for this sinful world? And that word burden, as used in Habakkuk 1:1, it signifies a load. He was carrying a load. And Habakkuk was shouldering that heavy weight, that heavy load. And you know, the Lord frequently reveals insights to his messenger, the pastor, the preacher, the evangelist, the missionary. He reveals those insights to his messenger that others may not notice. They may not see it. They may not notice it, but God shows it to his messenger, the preacher, the pastor. And he does that to enable that messenger, that pastor, to warn people about the challenges and the wrongdoing surrounding them. For a man of God to be effective, I believe with all my heart, you got to have a burden. You got to carry that burden. You got to carry that load. It is a fact that pastors carry a heavy load, a heavy burden. Stay up at night worrying, concerned, praying, crying. I tell you, a pastor that doesn't worry, that does not have a burden for his people, I wouldn't give you 2 cents for him. Amen? I'm telling you, that's how God works. But at the same time, I don't believe God will put more on us than we can handle as far as a burden, and that he can help us through that. And it's not healthy. It's not good for a man of God carrying such a heavy load, such a heavy burden, that it has an effect on his health, on his family, tearing his family apart. He needs to reevaluate. He needs to get away from that situation, in my opinion. Now, you've got to have that burden, but it ought to be a burden of love and caring. It's a load. It's not easy, but at the same time, you carry that burden. And, without it, without that burden, without that load, listen, it's kind of like working. You're going to get tired. You're going to get worried. There's going to be a heavy load to carry if you're working on something. But it's enjoyable. It ought to be enjoyable, or be a privilege to do, not something you dread, that you hate, that can't stand. Without this burden, without it, his message, the pastor, the preacher, his message can lack the passion that needs to be in his message. Can lack the Spirit of God being upon him if he's not burdened. My, how we need a burden for lost people, that we might preach passionately and with the power of God on us, that we can preach to those that are lost, that they may see, that it get their attention and jar them and let them know, hey, you need to be right with God. See, this burden must stem from God's opening of our eyes, opening the eyes of the man of God. That's where that burden has to come from. God shows us things. He lets us see things. And once we see those things, we're burdened by those things. And we've got to say something about it. We got to preach about it. God's given me this message, and I've got to preach about it and tell the world about it, because God has burdened my heart about it. And that allows that man of God to grasp the importance of the message, to preach it with passion and preach it with the power of God on him, that he's meant to share it in that way. If he's not sharing it that way, he's just a motivational speaker or whatever. But a man of God that is not delivering a message with a load, with a burden on his heart, he'll not get that message to the hearts of the people. And that's God's purpose, is get his message to the hearts of people. And guess what? He uses a pastor, he uses an evangelist, he uses a preacher to do that. And that preacher, that pastor has to be burdened with that message in order to get that across. You know what our problem is in America today and across the world? There's too many in the pulpit without a burden. There's too many in the pulpit without a message that they're burdened with, that they have seen come from the Lord, that from the heart, and they know that the power of God is on them, and they know that this message is from God, and they've got to deliver it or die. And that's what's lacking in our pulpits. There's not men doing that. They're just finding whatever and repeating this and that and the other and saying a poem, and God ain't on them and God ain't using them. Why? They're not burdened. They've not talked to God. They've not prayed out to God. I'm burdened about the fact that there are preachers not preaching as they ought to preach, with a burden, with a heavy load on their heart, as they should. Oh my, help us and help me. God, help me to have that burden. Amen. Boy, there's a lot in that little verse in there. The burden which Hababkuk the prophet did see. God, help us to see it. Help us to have that burden and to preach with power upon us. My. Now, Hababkuk chapter 1, verse 2. O Lord, how long shall I cry? We see the burden again. How long shall I cry? And thou wilt not hear. Oh my. Even cry out unto thee of violence, and thou wilt not save. He is pleading with God to pay attention to his prayers. God, hear my prayer. Lord, hear what I'm praying. Have you ever been praying and feel like it wasn't getting past the ceiling? But guess what? You just keep praying. You feel like that, you just keep praying and you keep calling on God. Amen. Hababkuk observes the injustice that is occurring all around him, and he is perplexed as to why God is not punishing those who are responsible for it. God, this is just going on and nobody's being punished for it. What's going on? He's burdened about it. You know, at some point I think we have all cried out and asked, how long? How long, Lord? How long can this go on? How long can sin go on like it is? How long can this world go on the way it's doing? Turning from God, every man doing right in his own eyes, killing babies and rejecting God, and all the homosexuality and lesbianism and whatever else that's going on, the hatred against God's people and against Jewish people and against Christian people. My goodness, how long can it go on? The evil that's taking place, people killing people and rising against their own siblings and against their mothers and fathers and mothers against their own kids and all that's going on. How long? How long? That's what Habakkuk is saying here. How long, Lord? How long shall I cry? How long must this go on? You know, this suggests that Habakkuk had prayed to God numerous times, probably asking him to intervene in Judah's moral decline. Habakkuk had prayed so much about the severity of the issues that he had started to doubt, I think, that God was listening to his prayers. He's human. I mean, I prayed and I prayed. Why ain't he listening to me, you know? And it appears that those who pretend to know God, like Judah was doing, Judah was just pretending like they knew God. They had strayed very, very, very far away. I want you to know, though, our ways are not God's ways. And so often we forget that. Our ways is not God's. What we want done, Lord, just destroy them all. Lord, just wipe out these people that are so sinful. We don't see what God sees. Our ways are not God's ways. And we forget that sometimes. Sometimes we want God to just shake people up. Oh, I got this daughter, I got this son, I wish I could just shake them and slap some sense into them, you know. And God, why don't you do that? I just want to hit them over the head. Or let me do it for you, God. You know, that's sometimes how we feel. However, there's a reason. There's a reason that God is God and we are not God. God knows best. There's been many times God should have probably hit me upside the head. Many a times the Lord probably should have shook me real good. But instead he had mercy on me. And yet here I am, saved, washed in the blood of the Lamb, living right. I got out and sinned one time, got out, didn't live right for God, and here I am now preaching the gospel in church, pastoring. Been pastoring 13 years. Before that, I've been in the ministry nearly 40 years at the time of this, that I'm recording this and all. And here's the thing. You know why? Because God had mercy on me. He knew how to handle me. He knew what to do. Not to drive me away, but to draw me to Him. Amen. We all want mercy, don't we? Guess what? There's lost people out there that are hurting. And yes, they're mad. And yes, they cuss. And yes, they say things against God and the church. But the truth is, and it gets down to it eventually, at least sometime, at some point, they will want mercy. Now, if they wait too late, there'll be no mercy when you stand before the great white throne judgment. But we don't always ourselves want to show mercy, do we? That's why God's God and we're not. God help us. God help us. Amen. Now, Habakkuk 1 and 3. Why dost thou show me iniquity? Why are you showing me sin, Lord? And cause me to behold grievance. He's telling the Lord, why are you showing me this? He's seeing it. He's got this vision, right? And he's burdened by it. Why are you showing me, Lord? For spoiling and violence are before me. All I see is spoiling and violence. And there are that raise up strife and contention. I see people just raising up strife and contention and problems. Habakkuk is seeing sinfulness. He's seeing trouble. The grievance, beholding grievance. And he sees it all around him. It's everywhere. Amen. For spoiling and violence are before me, he said. He sees destruction. He sees the quarreling and the disputes all done in anger. Can I just ask you a question? Does that not sound like a lot like America today? In the day we're living? Habakkuk was like a watchman. He saw all the evil and he warned the people, and yet God had not punished these people. He's asking God why He allows him to see all the wrong. If God is not going to change it, why is He showing it to Habakkuk? Why are you showing me this, Lord? If you ain't going to do something about it, why are you showing it to me? Habakkuk, he's a righteous man. He's living in a society that has gone mad, gone wrong and sinful and just gone crazy. You ever feel like you're the only one living for God? Or at least the only one wanting to live for God? I do sometimes. I want you to know you're not alone if you feel that way. Habakkuk felt that way, though. I'm sure he did. That here I am. I'm just all alone in this. And he's questioning how God can know about all this sinfulness and abominations and just sit by and not do anything about it. Habakkuk wants action. And he's wanting God to take action. And he said, why ain't you doing it? Why are you showing me this if you're not going to do something? You know, it's easy to look at society today and wonder why God has not thundered down judgment against our society. This strife and contention is speaking of those rebellious who are not keeping God's law, but instead argue against it and fight over it. Amen. Now, Habakkuk 1 and 4. Therefore the law is slacked, and judgment doth never go forth. For the wicked doth compass about the righteous. Therefore wrong judgment proceedeth. Not only are the wicked people not keeping God's law, but they are attacking the righteous. It's really bad. It's not that they're just not keeping God's law, they're attacking the righteous. They're actually opposed to those who have taken a stand for God. And the law which had governed even their civil law, has become unequal. And Habakkuk is disappointed. He is greatly disappointed. He's upset. He's plumb aggravated about the fact that justice is no longer part of their society. My. I'm seeing in this America. Amen. Do you not see that? I see it. I mean, I see America in this. Not only is America disobeying what God says, but now they're going after the righteous. They're going against Christians. They're going against the nation of Israel, God's people. Standing against God's people with evil people. Evil people that are attacking God's people. Making laws that go against the values of Christians. America, the government, many in the government, and some of the leaders, not all of them, but some of the leaders of America are becoming more and more against God and their disappointment. The laws that are being suggested and even passed on, even on a local level, in a lot of different states and state level and national level, they're easing away, little by little, easing away from godliness and righteousness and justice more and more every day. Who would have thought that America would be debating and considering killing a baby right after it was born? Or just prior to being born? Or even prior to that? Who would have thought it would be debating, considering protecting known criminals that have killed, murdered, and raped, and done all that, robbed people, and then give them a safe place, a safe haven, a sanctuary place where they can't be touched and where they can safely hide and reside from law enforcement? Or that law enforcement can just come along and say, well, as long as you don't steal above $1,000 worth, then we'll not prosecute you. We'll not send you to jail. Who would have thought that would have happened? Just ignore the law. Who would have thought that America would debate and consider allowing sodomites to be pastors, or to have homosexual weddings in churches, and allowing the government to stand against a church that did not go along with it? Those things have been. Those things are. And when you think on these things, it is real easy to see why Habakkuk in his day, where he's coming from, and how he feels about it. Amen. Verse number 5. Behold, ye among the heathen, and regard and wonder marvelously. For I will work a work in your days, which ye will not believe, though it be told you. Now, prior to this verse, understand this, Habakkuk has been expressing his grievance to God. But now, he's getting a response from God. God is answering his prayer. God is talking to him now. God is speaking here in verse 5. And God is speaking through Habakkuk and declares that he will take action. God is going to take actions in ways that are unimaginable. He said, in which you will not believe. Unimaginable, leaving many in disbelief. I cannot believe God did that. Wow. Habakkuk is dedicated to God amidst those who are not. During Habakkuk's time, God will address this situation. Habakkuk is going to take care of it. His intervention will be so swift and astonishing that it may be hard for Habakkuk to even accept it, or believe that God was doing it. However, God will use a heathen nation, as we're going to see in our studies coming up, to discipline his people. Those among God's followers living in sin, they will not anticipate that their judgment is going to come from outsiders, heathen people. But nevertheless, I want you to know God is free to use whoever he wants to use and choose to use and however he wants. He is in full control. And he still controls this old world that we're living in today. Amen. That's the lesson today from Habakkuk. Verse by verse preaching, 1 through 5. Chapter number 1. We'll look at the next few verses next week. God bless you. And please go to sermonstudy.com. You want my notes? Go to sermonstudy.com. Subscribe. Give $15. You can get all the notes that you want. $15 a month. And that just helps me maintain the website and continue this. If I can't maintain, I'll probably have to shut it down, but I hope that's not the case. I hope to get more subscribers. I need your help. So please do that. God bless you, and study on these things. Take this and teach it to your people at your church. God bless you. I'm Brother Scott Thomas.